Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, assalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Alhamdulillah, we meet again tonight uh, in this month of January, which is the first class for this the top Hadith Narrator in 2022. So hopefully this year brings more uh, closer for us to getting closer to Allah, getting closer to, and then hopefully the situations of the world getting better and better, inshallah. And let's not forget to say salawat and salam to our Prophet Muhammad SAW, to his family, and to all the followers, the companions, until the end of time. Alhamdulillah, so we have already discussed, I think this is number 5, I believe this is the class number 5 when we talk about the top Hadith Narrator. So let's start, and today or tonight, which camera I should be looking at? Which one? Which one is live right now? Okay, that one, right? So today we have full house today, Alhamdulillah. So you'll be ready to get quizzed today. So sometimes I don't wanna feel lonely, so I will throw in questions, and I will disturb you sitting there. So today we're gonna talk about one of the prolific hadith narrator by the name of Abdullah ibn Abbas Radhi'Allah Annhu. And let's start. So just to remind everyone, there are the number of hadith narrators. Of course, the first one that everyone knows, everyone remember. You remember who's that number one? The top. Sorry. Number one, the top hadith narrator, narrating about 5,374 hadith. Abu Hurairah. Yeah, Abu Hurairah, that's the number one. So we talk about Abu Hurairah. His real name is actually Abdurrahman bin Sakhr al-Dawsi. And then we talk about Abdullah bin Umar, the son of Umar bin Talib, Umar bin Khattab, sorry, Umar bin Khattab. And then we talk about Anas bin Malik, which is the Al-Khadim of Rasulullah SAW, the servant of Rasulullah SAW. He's serving Rasulullah for about 10 years, and the hadith, a very popular hadith from him, when he says about that he was serving our Prophet for about 10 years, and never ever he refuted me, never ever he's upset with me, never ever he's raised his hand to me, and never ever he corrected me, never ever. It's very, very beautiful story, and we talk about a little bit about parenting along that line. So this is one of the things is when I have when I have been asked to talk about a little bit of parenting, I have some experience of parenting. So this is one of the hadith that I always quote. It's completely different how the parenting style of Rasulullah SAW. And then the number 4, the narrator of hadith is Aisha binti Abu Bakr. That but not we cannot we're not going to talk about her because we have already talked about her on the mother of the believers. So today, this came 5, number 5 came 5th, which is Abdullah bin Abbas Radhi'Allah Annhu, and then the other 2, which is Abdul bin Abdullah and Abu Sa'ad bin Malik al-Khudri. We don't know whether the next class, which is February, we will be able to have one session for one Jabir, one session for Abu Sa'id. Probably we have to combine, but there's not many stories about them. All right, let's start. So first of all, I want to start off with the family. So just a reminder, the family. When people when people attach to someone, they know something. They know the son of this, and they're coming from this tribe. They're coming from this. People will ask you what is your ethnicity. There's always something to relate it to blood and family lineage, right? So Abdullah Radhiallahu his father is Abbas, which is the uncle of Rasulullah SAW. And of course, he's the son of Abdul Muttalib, and Abdul Muttalib is the son of Hashim. Why I put this Hashim here? Because this clan of Quraysh is called Bani Hashim, right? So all the children of Hashim, this is Abdul Muttalib and also Muttalib, right? Shaiban is Abdul Muttalib, real name is Shaiban. Then he also has a brother called Muttalib, and then their family under including the father of Rasulullah SAW, Abdullah, right? And then Abbas, and then some of the uncles of Rasulullah, so Hamza, and Abu Lahab, and so on and so forth. So basically Abdullah Radhi'Allah is the cousin of Rasulullah. From the mother side, uh, uh, he has a very popular mother by the name of Fadl, Lubaba. Everyone knows her by Fadl, so we're gonna talk a little bit about her, why she's so popular. And then from a family of Abbas and Fadl, there are four children. Of course, they have many children, but they're quite big number. So I mean, the most famous family at four. As you know, Fadl means the mother of Fadl. Of course, the first son is Fadl Radhiyallahu, Abdullah and Ubaidillah and Khutam. Just slightly about these siblings, right? What is the stories about Fadl? Fadl is quite unique. There are not many stories, but the stories about him is when Rasulullah did Hajj. So he actually traveled sharing the same camel with Rasulullah SAW. So imagine you riding a camel from Medina to Mecca. It's probably a few days. I don't know whether 7 days or 8 days, around that line. So he's sharing camel with Rasulullah. So what an experience sitting with Rasulullah SAW, blessed with advice and experience and whatnot. So because of that, much of the Sharia or the rituals of Hajj actually recorded by Fadl, right? Bin Abbas or Abdullah bin Abbas. So many of hadith narrations about Hajj and everything, and also Fadl is one of the cousin of Rasulullah SAW who actually went down to the qabr, to the grave of Rasulullah SAW. And he's the one who actually went into the qabr when they buried our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There were a number of them. I think Rasulullah was Ali was there as well. Abbas was there as a father. So three of them, right? So they actually came down to the qabr. It was one of the blessings because they're the family members, right? So the family members came to down to the grave and put Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam into his burial, right? Abdullah, the one we're gonna talk about tonight, and then what is the stories about Ubaidillah? Ubaidillah is probably 1 or 2 years younger than Abdullah. Ubaidillah, when Prophet Muhammad SAW passed away, he is only about 12 years old, so it's quite young as well. He later on became one of the most successful businessmen in Bani Hashim. Is like the richest, so rich. Now imagine this, right? We talk about riches sometime last time, right? Two, 3 shows about being rich. This Fadl, right? There's so many. We talk about how many companions so far. Probably we talk about 15, 16, right? We have many classes, but one of the richest, not actually one of, he's the richest of the Bani Hasim, is actually Fadl, Ubaidullah bin Abbas. He's so rich, he actually slaughter one camel per day at the peak of his reach until he passed away. One camel, and then how much one camel now? Do you know? Can you Google it? How much one camel? Just to give you now, right? At this money, I think is it okay to say 15,000 Hong Kong dollar, 20,000? How much is it? So that means you can sort of fathom like how much money we're talking about. But anyway, so he's one of the successful. So much? 55. See, look at that, right? Per day until the rest of his life, right? And of course, this is like so much money, right? So one of I think his father, I don't know what his other brother says, Ubaidullah, I mean, I know you're so rich, but this is one, please, why you basically is just too much where you sacrifice one camel per day is not good or something like that. Okay, but because he respected his brother, I think I don't know who actually tried to give him advice. Probably because out of respect, right? So he stopped doing that. But the following day, you know what he did? He sacrificed two camels per day. So he followed his advice not to sacrifice one camel, but instead of doing one camel, he actually sacrificed two camel. So 110,000 Hong Kong dollar per day until his death. So you can imagine how rich it is, right? So that's the thing. One of the things we talk about, right? These companions, right? When they become like super wealthy like this, they don't see that as they own it. They just see that as a trust, as someone that Allah gives the trust to distribute the wealth, right? So that's why just for him sacrificing 2 camels is just easy, because the money doesn't stay in the heart, the money stays in the hands. It's just like that, right? So may Allah one day give us rich that we can easily help people, inshallah. Amin ya rabbal alamin, right? And the last one is Khutam. Khutam is also one of the cousins of Rasulullah who actually went down. He didn't go down, but he actually one of the person who washed the body of the Prophet Muhammad. And that's why Abbas is so blessed. There was a story about how Abbas was so blessed that he has beauty, knowledge in his family. His sons has beauty, knowledge, and wealth. You want beauty? Look at Fadl. Fadl probably the most good-looking, handsome sort of guy in Medina or whatnot. And then if you see knowledge, look at Abdullah, the one that we're going to talk about tonight. And then if you want to have wealth, right, look at Ubaidullah, right? So he's so blessed. We're going to talk about his other blessings as well, inshallah. All right, so Abdullah Radhi'Allah Annhu, he is a member of Ahlul Bayt, and again, we talk about it. I don't know whether I should discuss a bit more, because I think when we talk about the mother of the believers is actually part of the Ahlul Bayt as well. Of course, there are other group who have different definitions of Ahlul Bayt, but in the Sunni Muslim, we believe that one of them is actually the wives of the Prophet Muhammad SAW. They are part of the Ahlul Bayt, which is the household members, and one of them include the daughters, no, the family or the sons of Fatima, which is through Fatima Radhi'Allah Anha, as well as include the family of the descendants of Bani Hashim, right? So this is one. And why is it so important? Why is it so big? Because, and again, this is family, right? And if you heard this before, right? Behind a great man, there's also a great lady behind, right? So that if someone becomes successful, not only he is successful because he's supported by his family members, right? When Rasulullah SAW was humiliated, was thrown at, was persecuted, other than the Prophet Muhammad SAW, who feel all these problems and everything, but who's actually feeling all the pressures, pulling all the pinch and everything? It's also the family, right? When Rasulullah SAW was attacked by the Makkah at that time, it was Fatima and the daughters who felt that, and so on. So it is readily acceptable for us to believe why the family is also have blessing as well. Uh, one of the blessings for them, right? And again, this is, if you think about it, right? Remember when we say salam, when we say salawat to Rasulullah SAW, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, which is the family, which is all this Ahlul Bayt. So every time we send salawat upon the Prophet, then we also linked up to the family members, right? Because they are the family. So of course, this is very close relationship between Rasulullah and Abdullah bin Abbas, right? So let's talk about his father first, right? So his father is Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib. He did not embrace Islam in Mecca, right? So not until the Battle of Badr, right? He is the one who's quite late entering Islam. We talk about it what triggered him to enter Islam. But nevertheless, he is the one who supported the Prophet. I think the same story with Abu Talib, right? He supported the Prophet in his cause, but not readily agreeing to Islam. But even Abu Talib, at the end of his life, he had never accepted Islam. Uh, and different uncle, which is Abu Lahab, actually attacked him, right? Which actually become one of his big enemy. But different with Abbas, he actually supported him. He actually go through and help him, and even become the spokesman when at the time the level of persecution is very high, and then people from Yathrib will later become Medina, came to him, why don't you go to Yathrib to us and become our governors, our leaders and whatnot. And at the time it was Abbas who actually the spokesman. And if you remember the story about that, when it says, can you promise, this is Abbas saying to the Yathrib people, will you promise to protect Muhammad and his followers, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as if they are on your own family, right? And they said yes. And then the Yathrib people says, okay, what do we get for that? And Rasulullah said, Jannah, right? And they said, okay, it's a good deal, right? So, and then when the Muslims went for hijrah, the family got dispensation. At the time, it is allowed, um, because uh, Abbas was about 40, almost 40 years apart from Rasulullah SAW, right? Almost 38. So he's probably very young age at the time of hijrah, and at that time there was no ruling for the family, which is a husband and wife. If one of them is married, then not they can stay married even though their husband or their wife they're not Muslim yet. Right? So Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib, in the Battle of Badr, of course, he was on the opposing side, and he was captured, and then he was asked for ransom, right? So this is his own nephew, and then after the battle and everything, it was interesting story actually. Before the battle, uh, and I don't know whether you can picture it, right? This is the battle. The Battle of Badr is the battle between you and your family members, right? If your family members, one of Muslim, they made hijrah to Medina. When they got to battle, they will see this. You can see father and son and brother, they opposing each other, right? And this is very tough for them, and it's very difficult. And at the time, Rasulullah was asked to tell. I think this is part of the revelation that Jibril came to him and says, he asked, if you see Abbas, do not touch him, do not kill him, right? And there was one particular companion. He said, I'm going to fight against my own family member, and Rasulullah stopped me to attack his own uncle. What is it's not fair, right? So it was to that level. Of course, this is the test of patience, and there is a hikmah, there is a wisdom to that. Rasulullah SAW told people not to kill Abbas at the time, because Abbas was sympathetic to Islam. He didn't embrace Islam at the time, but still there was a couple of stories where probably some people believe he's already Muslim, but he disguised as a non-Muslim. But I think he was not Muslim at that time. Uh, the and then one of the stories about Abbas is actually the second Islamic dynasty. It's called Abbasid. That's after the Umayyad for about a couple of hundred years, and then the Abbasid, which is almost 500 years, and that Abbasid is actually from Abbas. It is actually the first caliph from 750 CE. It is actually the grandson, the great grandsons of Ibn Abbas. So it's actually from his lineage, and it was told that it was the golden age around 775 to, it's about almost 100 years of the golden age, where they have very well known, the caliphs and the viziers at that time, their reputations of power, even taking over the is it Byzantine or Byzantines empire, and then Syria, and even up to Anatolia, which is the Turkey now, right? So that's different. The first one is Umayyad, and then the Abbasid, and then after that the Uthman, the country Turkey that we talked about just before we had this class. What is the stories about Abbas? Probably just a couple of hadith. This is very very interesting hadith. Actually, Abu Talib died as a non-Muslim, right? And then Abu Talib is actually his brother. So Abbas asking Prophet Muhammad, Ya Rasulullah, right, your uncle, right, Abu Talib, right, he sacrificed for you, he helped you, right? Of course, he died not being a Muslim and whatnot, and can you benefit him from his akirah, right? And if you remember the stories where Rasulullah SAW at the deathbed of Abu Talib, and said, my uncle, please say La ilaha illallah. I'll become your witness in the hereafter. Ya uncle, please say it, right? And then he didn't want to say it. I don't want to leave this religion of my father. I don't want to leave this religion. So he actually died upon kufr, right? So he rejected, and Rasulullah SAW was his face like turned so upset, and then the Quran was revealed just for him, right? Innaka la tahdi man ahbabta. You cannot guide the one you love. So Rasulullah SAW really, really in love with his uncle Abu Talib, because he's the one who actually raised him from he was 8 years old, right? His mother passed away when he was 6, and then after that grandfather Abdul Muttalib passed away when he was 8, and from 8 until 25 he was at the care of Abu Talib. He's like his own father. So when his own father did not embrace Islam, he was so sad. That's why Abbas make a case for him. He's your uncle. He looks after you. He loves you so much. Can you make a case for him? So uh, that's the thing, right? Even though you have a family of the Prophet, even though Prophet loves you so much, if you don't do your deed, you don't act do your acts and everything, your blood will not save you, right? So this is one of the things that we want to learn. Just because you're coming from a pious family, just because your parents are prophet, or if you don't do your belief, that's why Rasulullah SAW even mentioned to Fatima, you have to do your deeds, right? Because I'm your father, will not be able to help you in the hereafter, right? It's because your belief and your deeds that saves you. And then Rasulullah SAW, yes, I can benefit him in akhirah. I will ask for Allah help that he will be the outer part of the hellfire, right? So otherwise he could be in the pit of the hellfire. So this is one of the hadith. The other hadith is just a very quick one. Abbas mentioned that when you make sajda, right, 7 of your body parts, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your knees, right, and then both your feet, right, 7 parts, right. And the last part is when Abbas feels a little bit old and he says, Ya Rasulullah, I'm your uncle and I'm old. Teach me something that will benefit me. And again, Rasulullah says, yes, you are my uncle, but I cannot benefit you in the hereafter, right? But what I advise you to do, always ask Allah for afiyah. And that's it. Yes. What is afia? I don't. If the Indonesian word, I don't know whether you heard this before. Indonesian word or Malay word, sehat wal afiat. Have you heard this afiat? Afia, right? Afia means the absence of pain and calamity. Uh, sehat-sehat saja, right? Very, very like you healthy and everything. But not only on this world, on the hereafter. So afia is, you cannot ask for more than that. Afia means you no pain, no calamity in this world and the hereafter. What else you want, right? So that is the advice of Rasulullah SAW to his uncle. Just quickly on his mother, she's the one who embraced Islam early. I think the second after Khadijah Radhi'Allah Anha, and not many stories, but one of the very interesting story is she came from a family of sisters that they're all married to what do you call that? They are. Let me just show you the diagram here. So put this is diagram. So this is her mother, right? And the first daughter, which is Fadl, married to the uncle of Rasulullah SAW. The second daughter, Maimunah, married to Rasulullah SAW. And the third daughter, Zainab, different with Zainab binti Jaz. Zainab binti Huzaimah, Rasulullah was only married for about few months and until she passed away. So you can actually marry to two sisters as long as not at the same time. So Rasulullah married to Zainab binti Huzaimah first, and then Zainab passed away, and Rasulullah married to Maimunah, right? So this is gonna be let me sort of highlight this. This Maimunah, right, from Abdullah ibn Abbas is the aunt, right? Because this is his mother, this is the aunt. Why I'm telling you here now? Because it's going to be a very interesting hadith later on. So 3 daughters, right, married to the uncle of Rasulullah, to Rasulullah SAW, and then Asma, she married to another guy by the name of Umais after Khuzaimah passed away. So married to Umais, and Umais married to Ja'far, and Ja'far passed away, married to Abu Bakr, and Abu Bakr passed away, married to Ali bin Abu Talib. So look at this. Look at sort of the caliber of the Asma, right? And then the last daughter, of course, he has many daughters, but the last one, Salma, married to another uncle of Rasulullah SAW, right? So that is the story of what do you call that, the grandest mother-in-law on earth. All right, so let's go into our man of the night tonight, which is Abdullah bin Abbas. He was born about 619 CE, which is about 50 years younger than Rasulullah SAW. And he was born during the boycott. At the time, all the Muslims were boycott, and they were asked to move away from the outskirts of Mecca. And when he was born, they gave it to Rasulullah to give tahniq. You know tahniq? Did you do tahniq, brother, brother cameraman? You know, when baby is born, you put something sweet, right? Sometimes you put date. Some people use honey and stuff like that. Yeah, this is part of the sunnah actually. So you chew, usually the father chew some the dates, which is sweet, and then give it to the baby, right? So this is, but at that time, because they were so they're being boycott and they don't have enough food. So what happened was they don't have dates at that time. So Rasulullah just used his own saliva and put it into the mouth of Abbas, right? Of course, not Abbas, Abdullah bin Abbas, Ibn Abbas. So the man of tonight is Ibn Abbas, right? And again, he was raised by his mother because his mother is Muslim at that time, right? And he was known for his two titles. The first is the Habar of the Ummah, which is the scholar, which is the priest of the Ummah, the scholars. Um, we're gonna talk about that later. And then also he is the title has someone, the great mufassir of Quran. So it's a lot of tafsir of Quran is actually coming from him, right? So because of the dua of Rasulullah SAW, Allah give him, teach him the deen and the understanding, the takwil of Quran. So this is Abdullah bin Abbas because of the dua. I remember Anas bin Malik, Rasulullah made dua, make him rich, make him long life, and that happened. And the same thing with Abu Hurairah, Rasulullah make dua especially for him that he will memorize all the hadith, and that's why from that on he always memorized hadith. Right? This is one of the because the blessing of the dua of Rasulullah, he made dua later on that Abdullah ibn Abbas became the great mufassir of the Quran. Now, he's one of the biggest narrator, number 5, but he was only with the Rasulullah for 2 years. How is it possible? He's only with 2 years with Rasulullah, but he narrated many hadith from Rasulullah. And this is one of the hadith science, the science of hadith, is that within the companions, directly to Rasulullah, it doesn't matter whether he heard from Rasulullah or he heard from a companions, right? It doesn't matter because it will not change the hadith, right? Because the hadith will not make it even lower in terms of the quality, or the change of hadith doesn't make it broken, even though it's not direct to Rasulullah. So he narrated hadith mostly from the other companions, right? And which we're gonna talk about that. So one day, his father Abbas says, "Yeah, Abdullah, why don't you go and spend the night with Rasulullah? How can it be, right?" Remember, Rasulullah SAW married to his aunt Maimunah, and because his aunt Maimunah is actually his aunt, so he can stay the night there. So if Rasulullah sleeping this way and Maimunah sleeping this way, and then Abdullah bin Abbas sleeping here underneath, right? So he was at that time probably. So the time was if Rasulullah SAW was 53 plus 58, 50, around 60, probably very young, right? Probably still 10 or something. I think when Rasulullah passed away, he was 14, so less than 14, right? So he was there, and then he was asked to observe Rasulullah, right? And look at this, how Abbasi, this is very important to observe the prayer of, who can observe the prayer of Rasulullah during the night time? Only the family. Right? So this is part of the blessings. Only Aisha Radhi'Allah Annhu can narrate hadith, how Rasulullah prayed 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. No one can see that, right? Only the family. And other than the wife is Abdullah bin Abbas. Look at this, all right? So he actually narrated how Rasulullah woke up, right, and he recited Surah Ali Imran, inna fi khalqis samawati wal ardi wa ikhtilafi layli wan nahar. So then he did siwa and made wudu, right? And then he was witnessing that. He knew that, he recorded that, he followed that. And then because of that, Rasulullah made dua, Ya Allah, teach him understanding of this deen. There's a 3 occasions. This is the dua that our Prophet mentions to ask for Abdullah bin Abbas to, so he become have the good understanding of this deen and the tafsir of the Quran. Just a quick one on. I don't know. This is going to be very quick. Wow, this is one of the hadith that Rasulullah SAW asked, give advice to Abdullah bin Abbas. It was actually captured, and we have the book here, the Imam Nawawi. You know my favorite quiz, right? In the books called the 40 Hadith of Imam Nawawi, how many hadiths are there? You probably heard that many times from me. Do you remember? Do you remember the answer? How many hadiths are there in the book called 40 Hadith of Nawawi? All right, 42. Okay, next time. All right, so what the hadith is all about? The hadith, Rasulullah SAW talked to all young men, ya gulam, all young men. Of course, even though he's cousin, but it's almost 50 years apart, right? All gulam, yeah, all young men. Let me teach you an advice, right? Be mindful of Allah, afazullah, right? Be mindful of Allah, and Allah will protect you. Be mindful of Allah, and you will find Him in front of you, right? So what we need to this, and again, if you be mindful of Allah, this is like basically this is the essence of taqwa, right? Whatever you do, you know that Allah is watching you. You know that Allah observes you. Allah look at you. Allah is watching everything that you do, right? So just by be mindful that Allah is watching you, right? Allah will protect you, right? And Allah, not only Allah will protect, Allah will be in front of you, right? Of course, it's not real in front of you, but I think you get the point, right? So Allah, just be mindful every time you do, right? Even you go to MTR, you go to, even when you walk, when you eat, you always remember the food that you give, that Allah gives you. Always be mindful. Always think about Allah. And again, how you reflect that is from the askar that you mention every day. The always make dua, right? That's why it's always open you go outside the house, you say Bismillah. You go to the toilet, you say it's an askar and so on. It's about be mindful of Allah. And the hadith continue. If you ask, then only ask Allah. If you seek help, then only seek help only for Allah, right? And then know that if everyone, all the nations gather together to give you benefit, it will not happen unless Allah has already prescribed it. And the whole world, the whole nations getting together and they try to harm you, it will not happen until if Allah does not allow. Allah had already prescribed against you, right? So this is no benefit or harm except Allah has prescribed, so Allah wills it. And if you think about it, this is really this is one of the teaching. And again, Rasulullah is actually teaching his young cousin, and this is one of the things that we should teach our children as well. The first thing is about be mindful of Allah. The same thing Surah Luqman, right? Luqman also teaches sons, La tusrik billah, do not make what's shirk to Allah, right? And this is one of the advice. Be mindful. Anything you do, ask Allah, right? Even the companions, if they break their shoes and their shoes are broken, they say, Allah, please replace my broken. Please help me. There's always something like that. Allah will replace that. And this is really is a wisdom, and it teaches us the Aqidah as well. Abdullah bin Abbas, he has a blessing. So angel Jibril, not every companions actually have a chance to say this is part of the rare blessings. And he, what is it? The story went like this, right? He came with his father Abbas, and then he knocked the door, and Rasulullah did not answer. And so they say salam again. Rasulullah did not answer, right? And okay, they just left. And Abbas says, what's the matter with your cousin, right? We say greeting, salam, and he didn't. Of course, he's busy with his guests. What guests? I didn't see anyone. So the following day, they came and says, Ya Rasulullah, we came to see you and say greet you, but you didn't answer. So, but Abdullah says he saw you with the guest. Yes, and Rasulullah said, "Did you see my guest?" Guess who the guest was, right? And it was actually Jibril alayhi salam. So and so you can see my guest. Right? Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that you see my guest, then you will be blind later. So it is at the end of his life when he's reaching 72 years old. About well, he passed away when he was 72, probably a year or two before he passed away. He went blind, and again it is quite common at that time. I think probably glaucoma, cataract, or something like that, right? I think at the time probably 1400 years, 1500 years ago, it's probably quite common to have people in the old age. But anyway, this is the what Rasulullah mentioned because you see Jibril, you will get blind later, right? So, all right, we still have half an hour. Um, Abdullah bin Abbas saw his eagerness for knowledge. So he's a very young age. He's already know that he wants to learn about this deen. And when Rasulullah SAW passed away, he saw a lot of companions here and there. So and I said, oh, this is a good opportunity for me. I'm gonna talk to the all companions, and this is a good opportunity for me to learn, right? So he went up, visited the companions, the one companions, and then he learned from them, right? And then one time he went to particular companions, Sahaba, and the Sahaba was not home, so he just waited outside. And when he came back, I said, "You waiting for me? Yeah, for what happened? Right? I want to learn something about the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu. So why are you here? You just send someone here. I'll come to you. You're the cousin of Rasulullah, right? I will just go to you. No, 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 no. I want to learn from you. You are because I want to learn from you. That's why I stay here, right? And again, what does it show? There's a show respect, right? Of course, he has a special respect because it's the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But again, he show respect to people as well as a teacher, right? So this is again, and he's not it is not uncommon for him asking the same questions for 30 different companions, right? 30 different Sahaba. Why? Because he wants to find the blessings and understanding, right? Probably different angle, different view, different aspect, different perspective of that. So it shows him how he invested his time at the young age to learn about this, right? And again, it's very interesting and if you look at how people becoming successful normally at a young age, they engross themselves with knowledge, right? And again, why the first Quran was Iqra bismi rabbika is all about reading, is about knowledge, again knowledge, again, because amal without knowledge is what is the phrase for that? uh, Ilm without amal is something, amal without ilm something. You can Google it, something, right? All right, so that is some of the stories that his time during the 2 years with Rasulullah SAW. One of the key point he is really eagerness to learn. So that's why he memorized a lot of hadith, not all from Rasulullah SAW, but all from the companions, which is close to Rasulullah SAW. So he narrated all this hadith, right? Uh, During the time of Umar bin Khattab, he was at the time was 16 years old. Now this is one of the stories that I find it very very interesting. Um, it is really, I find it's just amazing. uh, Umar Radhi'Allah Annhu, right? He become the caliph, he's become the Amirul Mu'minin, right? And during the time of Umar, the border of the Muslim Empire at the time is getting bigger and bigger. During at the time they start knocking on the door of the Romans and the Persians and whatnot, right? So it's getting bigger, right? And if you remember, during the time of Umar, the key of the Jerusalem was handed to him, right? So that part of the Byzantines or the Roman Empire is already taken over by Khalid bin Walid, which is under the reign of Umar bin Khattab. So Umar bin Khattab, being Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, is expanding, right? And and he has his own circle of advisor, right? And how all the difference between Umar bin Khattab and Abdullah bin Abbas is 40 years. With Rasulullah almost 50 years. Umar bin Khattab is about 12 years younger than Rasulullah SAW, so it's probably about 40 years or something like that, right? So of course he's still young, but every time he has this advisor of the king of the most Islamic empire, right? Every time he has advisor council meeting, he always have this Abdullah bin Abbas, a young guy, right? So, and then everyone was just, why? And then sometimes people ask, why you bring this kid? What's wrong with this young kid, right? Of course, then they're all senior. They're all like a very senior. So what's wrong? Why we have this young guy here? And even my sons were older than him, right? And Umar refuted them and says, well, uh, woe to you, right? This is the cousin of Rasulullah. This is the Ahlul Bayt of Rasulullah SAW. He has some blessing, but not only that, right? So one day he called up all the advisor, right? And he asked Abdullah bin Abbas, right, to sit there. And Rasulullah and Umar bin Khattab recited Surat An-Nasr. Idza jaa nasrullahi wal fath. Right? Idza jaa nasrullahi, when the help of Allah come. إذا جاء نصر الله إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر. When you see people coming to the deen of Allah, batches after batches after batches, right? And fasabbih bihamdi rabbika, make tasbih, fasabbih, make tasbih, make tahmid and istighfar to Allah. Right, so that is Surah Nasr. And then Umar says, okay, you my advisor, right? What is the tafsir of this surah? Right? What did they say? Oh, when the victory comes, right? Thank Allah. That's the tafsir. Anyone else? Anyone else? They're all giving the same sort of idea, right? And he pointed to the young kid, right? Abdullah, what is the tafsir of this? You know what he said? Ibn Abbas said, this surah was meant to inform Rasulullah SAW that he is about to die. Right? His mission is accomplished, so be prepared to meet Allah. How do you prepare to meet Allah? Increase your tasbih, increase your tahmid, increase your istighfar, right? And everyone was just so quiet. And then Omar says, that's also my understanding as well. So in a sense, right, this surah, very small, only 3 verses, right? I think most Muslims have this as one of their favorite surah because it's so close, right? إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفر إنه كان توابا, right? And then when I first read these stories, right, as if this surah is a death certificate of Rasulullah, right? It changed my perception about this surah. This surah becomes one of my favorite surah because this surah, as Abdullah bin Abbas explained it, right, this surah is a death certificate of Rasulullah, right? And then Umar looked at to them, so stop criticizing me, bringing him around, right? Because he become what he is right now because of the dua of the Prophet Muhammad SAW, that he become a specialist in tafsir. All right. And it is quite common that Umar always call Ibn Abbas for every difficult case, right? And you think the grandeur of the reign of Umar, right, is huge and big and a warrior and everything, and at that time Abdullah bin Abbas still young, right? And then who is his best advisors? Abdullah bin Abbas, right? And Abdullah bin Abbas did not have the experience. What he has is the understanding of the Quran. Think about it, right? So his advice is always what Quranic advice. So the like of Umar bin Khattab, right? When he wants to hear about the Quranic advice, he will go to Abdullah bin Abbas. Subhanallah. Now you see this companion of Rasulullah is a different sort of league. Right? All right. If the reign of Uthman bin Affan, very few stories about him, except there's probably one big sort of assignment where Ibn Abbas was assigned as the leader of the Hajj, the Amirul Hajj. It was really prestigious assignment. Um, Again, everyone praised him from his fiqh and the wisdom of the Hajj, right? And then even not to mention one of the participants within this Hajj, because a group of Hajj from Medina to Mecca would be the mothers of the believer, Ummahatul Mu'minin, all the ex-wives of Rasulullah, or the widows of not ex-wives. I think I should have said the widows, the mothers of the believers, right? The Ummahatul Mu'minin. They all come in the group of this Hajj as well, right? And Ibn Abbas was the leader of the Hajj, right? So it is everyone praised him for the fiqh, and then the mothers of believer even commented that no Amirul Hajj before. Everyone commented that no the Amir al Hajj before who followed the rituals as complete as Ibn Abbas. Of course, and again this is part of the du'a, and he gave a beautiful khutbah, the Tafsir of Surah An-Nur, and people commented if this khutbah um, attended by non-Muslim, surely all these non-Muslim probably will become Muslims, right? So because of the touchings and the moving, it was so touching and moving. At the reign of Ali bin Abi Talib, Ibn Abbas offered as a governor seat in Damascus. He declined it, right? He declined because he's quite sensitive, because I think he was aware of the potential conflict as well. At the time, Muawiyah was the governor. If you know the story of the early Muslims between Ali bin Abi Talib and Muawiyah, the Battle of Siffin. So he actually rejected. I don't want to do that because Muawiyah, who actually elected Muawiyah? Umar bin Khattab. Right. So see, Umar bin Khattab actually elected Muawiyah to become the governor of Damascus. Right. And then he was already been there for about 20 years, and suddenly Ali called him. Okay, I've replaced, because Ali did not want Muawiyah to be the governor at the time, for whatever reason. He didn't want Muawiyah. He wanted to replace Muawiyah with Ibn Abbas. Of course, Ibn Abbas, this is very sensitive area. He didn't want to. That's why he declined it. Then Ali offered him to become the governor of Basra in Iraq at the time, for about 2 years, and he was his last political positions, the government. So he didn't want to do that, and a lot of people actually commented it was Basra with a lot of movements, a lot of insurgencies. What do you call it? Insurgencies between one places. Basra was very quiet because at the time everyone was commenting him become one of the good leaders or the governors because he's the stature of Abdullah bin Abbas, right? That his last political, and the people of Basra were so proud of him, and unfortunately he had to participate in the Battle of Siffin, which is between Ali and Muawiyah. And this is one of the painful part of the Islamic history, right? We cannot. He has his own topic as well. We will discuss about it, but just to give you some little perspective, right? The Battle of Siffin is about 25,000 people, Muslims on Ali's side, died in that battle, and about 40,000 from Muawiyah. 65,000 Muslims fighting, and 65 died because of that. It was so sad, right? And then after that long battle, right, and they agreed to have arbitration. They want to talk among themselves, and they stop the fight, right? And we're gonna talk about the because of the stop fighting, and the new group, which is gonna talk about it in the next slide. about this particular group. So that's the now. I don't know whether you heard about this Khawarij before, right? What is this Khawarij? Is they claim the arbitration is not allowed in Quran. So they have their own bizarre understandings of Quran. They were originally part of Ali, Ali bin Abi Talib Radhi'Allah. But when they agree not to fight, and they split. That's why the word Khawarij is actually the word Khuruj mean exit or leaves. So they believe Ali bin Abi Talib made the act of kufur by agreeing on arbitration. See, this is a completely different, bizarre understanding of Islam. According to them, they have to fight until Muawiyah died or until he repent. Right. So that is his. So they split. So when they finish the fight, Ali bin Abi Talib go back to Kufa, and this group, the Khawarij group, they went to a town near Kufa, a place called Harura, right? That's why they were called what is it? They were called Haruriya. They call Haruriya, the people of Harura, right? The companions never called them Khawarij. We call them Khawarij. And how many of them? It's about 6,000. So there are about 6,000 of them, and Abdullah bin Abbas was the one at the time. He's a governor, right? So let me talk to them, right? Let me negotiate to them. Let me probably persuade them, right? And then Ibn Abbas came. This is interesting story. This is one of the interesting stories as well about the about Khawarij, right? So they're not very far from Kufa. So Abdullah bin Abbas wore his nice dress, right? And whatever the Yemeni jacket, whatever he wore, like nice dress. So he went there to meet them. And when they come there, he came actually around lunch. At the time, it was probably the heat of summer, right? And during 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, whatever the Zuhur time. Normally, people at the time is a culture people to sleep, right? I don't know. Have you been working in? I worked in Shenzhen before, right? It was the first time for me. It's very interesting, right? If you work in China before, I don't know whether you have. I have worked in Beijing and Shenzhen, right? Remember, during lunchtime, after you finish lunchtime, the whole office they dim the light, and I can see all my other colleagues that take off their pillows and then they sleep, right? And they sleep for 15 minutes, half an hour, and then they wake up again and they continue to work, right? That is actually the Sunnah, right? Because um, I I read the book about the power nap. Some of the big CEOs and whatnot, they say they will spend 10 to 15 minutes during lunchtime, right? It's actually recover their energy, right? And they can log out. I think I don't know whether you already practice that. I try to practice that. Alhamdulillah, we have some small prayer room, right? So during prayer there, after prayer, just try to sit down and probably 10 to 15 minutes, right? But sometimes if you have so much work, right, and then you cannot do that, it's always. But anyway, this is something that I would try, right? It's a power nap. It's actually practice. Rasulullah SAW actually did that. But there was, I don't know whether there's a link to traditions or link to the culture at that time, because it's very hot. So what happened was Abdullah bin Abbas went there, all right, and he was hearing like that. It was at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, really like midday. Everyone should be sleeping. But he heard this 6,000 group of Khawaris, the Harurian, right? They were humming, reciting Quran. Abdullah bin Abbas actually quite impressed. He said that these people, right, the look of them, right, they like look very pious. The sajdah mark on the face, right? They read Quran. Even Abdullah bin Abbas, when they came, he was so impressed with these people. He was so impressed. Like, wow, this is like a level of closeness to Allah and so on and whatnot. So when he came, he said, you're the cousin of Rasulullah, so right? Why you come here, right? Why you wearing dress, right? This is haram, wearing dress and so on. Then this is when Ibn Abbas says, I came from the people of Muhajirin and Ansar. And we were with the Prophet and witnessed the Quran reveal. So he saw his status right now. Just out of the 6,000 of the Khawarij, none of them is companions. They have never seen Rasulullah SAW. And yet, they blame Ali bin Abi Talib kufur, become kafir, right? They blame everyone not following the idea of understanding of the Quran. They all call them kafir, right? So this is the understanding, right? Oh, you don't follow the hakam, the law of Allah, you kafir. Or your president is kafir. Your minister is all kafir, right? People who work for you is kafir. People who provide this is kafir. People married to you as well. People who then the whole country become kafir, and then this is their mentality, right? So and then Rasulullah, then Ibn Abbas with his knowledge and understanding, so, and he recited the Quran that Allah has blessed us with clothes, right? So who can say that haram, right? And it shows them they're just overzealous fanatic without any knowledge, basically. So these people, and then they ask, okay, is there anything we can talk about, right? So what is your complaint to Ali? What is it that you can complain? So they complain three things. Number one, you have to make judgment on the judgment of Allah, right? So I don't know whether you heard this before. That you have to follow the judgment of the Quran. And at the time they go to Ali bin Abi Talib, Ali bin Abi Talib take the Quran out, they put in the chair or something. That okay, Quran, judge us. Quran, judge us, right? Just to show them, no, you cannot talk like that. The Quran will not answer. So that's what do you mean by judge of the Quran? So that means human has to take the Quran and translate it. That's what it means. It's not that. That's how their mentality. And then number two, I don't know whether we should take too long on this, but basically the three things that they can talk about, and Abdullah bin Abbas refute them one by one and give them the understanding, and because of that, about 4,000 of them repented. And after this debate, this one of the stories, very interesting story, said about, and again, is the one who tell us what is the Khawarij, and Rasulullah mentioned the Khawarij is uh, the the dogs of hellfire, right? Because of their understanding. So, okay, right. Let's move on. So after the Khulafa Rashidin, he retired in Medina, not involved in any politics and whatnot. When Hussein Radhi'Allah went to Kufa, right, and he actually got assassinated later on, and then you see he was actually assassinated outside the what's the place? What's the place when Hussein Radhi'Allah was assassinated outside of Kufa? Anyway, come back. He's the one who stopped him. Please don't go there, and this is just politicals and whatnot. They will stab you, and so he knew that this is not meant to be Hussein. And Karbala, and then Hussein finally murdered, and the whole family was murdered in Karbala. This is a all different story altogether. And when Ibn Zubair tried to become a Khalifa, right, and at the time was the Khalifa was Yazid, and he refused to give allegiance to them. So basically, he didn't want to get into politics and so on. So his life, before he passed away, he went up to Taif, and he died that, and he buried. So he buried in Taif right now, in the age of 72, not getting involved with anything politics, anything in the government, and so on. So he just want to spend his quiet life there, and he passed away. There's a story that people witnessing pigeon entering to his kafan. It was probably considered a good blessing and so on. So we come to the end. What is the legacy? What the few things that I pick up from this story is, number one, his passion for knowledge, right, and how to instill the knowledge from the very young age is something that's quite interesting. I just wanna say, the story about. Let's say he was a very young, right, probably 9, 8 at the time, right? And then he was sleeping at the time of Rasulullah SAW, and he saw Rasulullah SAW wake up. What time did Rasulullah wake up to pray at night? Probably 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. When he said, I saw Rasulullah SAW wake up, what does it mean? He was not sleeping. He just very eagerly waiting for Rasulullah to wake up, and he's ready to get his wudu. Right? You cannot do that with the young people these days, right? If you, I remember someone told me, if you have a young child, right, and you have early flights 5 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning, you have to carry your children with their pajamas to the airport because you cannot wake them up. Right? It's so very difficult right now. But look at this, Abdullah bin Abbas, just very interesting, right? His passion to, like, why kids wake up in the morning, right? Other than probably playing games or whatnot, right? So this is again, there's patience for knowledge. Uh, and that also he's becoming the advisor of Umar bin Khattab. We know the stories about Umar bin Khattab, how he's the empire of Islam, I think, getting bigger and bigger. Who's behind that is giving him, with his less experience, what perspective Abdullah bin Abbas can give, right? He's non-partisan, non-biased, it's only Quranic view. So that's why if you want to become a good leader, you want to become a good scientist, you want to become a good doctor, a good engineer, always you have your own experience, you have the worldly, the dunya experience, but always see the Quranic view, right? Because this is only gonna, you can only be successful in that matter, right? And the last part is he gave us the characteristics of the Khawarij, right? The Khawarij, who they are, who they look pious, they look there, they know, they look there loyal, but they overzealous fanatic without knowledge, right? They have their own complete and they have the bizarre understanding of Islam. They even try to, if say Ali bin Abi Talib is the cousin of Rasulullah SAW, and is married to the daughter of Rasulullah SAW. If the likes of him called kafir, right, what makes the rest of us, right? So, and again, only people of Khawarij a bad understanding, and unfortunately, this mentality still exists until now, right? You can, if you look at some YouTube channels and everything, there's nice sheikh and everything, there's always attack, this is kafir, there's always people with that mentality. They have their own understanding. People, I don't know whether recently I watched someone who just embraced Islam and become blogger and YouTube and whatnot, and they came to this, I ate this rice. Of course, it's just probably 2 months, one become Muslim, so he didn't know a lot of things about Islam. And these people just comment, oh, this guy's kafir, and this mentality is like, it's like, if you're not with me, you're against me, right? And that is mentality, is the Khawarij, the mentality of Khawarij. I think that's all I want to share today. So that's my last slide. Exactly uh, 1 hour and a bit. And I open for questions. You have to have a questions, brother. You have questions, brother? No? You can text me if you want. You have any questions, comment, feedback, view? No, you're not gonna be in there. Yeah, any? Brother? No? The other brother? I don't want to mention name. No? So we can conclude? All right, we can conclude. We can close our discussions, or we can have off-cam discussions later, inshallah. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.